Welcome back to another episode of the Two Pelicans Podcast. So you would have just missed that.
Loving
G'day, you Pelicans.
Here he was, you were sort of hung up on his door.
Go and have a good time with her a bit later on.
Pelicans landing in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of the Two Pelicans Podcast. I'm Joey.
And I'm Mick, and we are the Two Pelicans.
And this is your fishing podcast, making fishing great. Once again, Mick, and we are here to get that average weekend angler through his work week with a smile on his dial, all ready for the weekend. Mate, how are you?
Good, mate, good. I just want to say a big shout out to all the people that have sent messages, approached us over the last week or so, couple of weeks. It's been really awesome to hear everyone's response. It's been great. So keep it coming, and just remember that we're on Spotify now. We're also on Patreon. Do you want to talk about Patreon?
Yeah, mate, if you haven't, guys, already, like Mick said, head over to Spotify. It's just the Two Pelicans Podcast at Spotify. Socials the same, Facebook, Insta, exactly the same, Two Pelicans Podcast. Patreon, what do you get out of the $3 a month? So on our first episode, Mick, I said $5.
Yep.
Us calling out Patreon must have worked, so I got it for $3. So
yep.
$3 a month, it's like a midi, not even a midi a month.
Mate, it's cheaper. It's, what's that, half a packet of jig heads?
Literally. So, guys, boy, you doing that, what you get out of that is in some of these to come episodes, there's going to be a bit of rogue stuff, and look, to cover us and to protect the not common ear now. It just goes over there, mate.
Politically correct or incorrect. Yeah. We'll probably be on Patreon.
And the thing is, Mick, we don't want to be polished. We don't want to be edited us. Like, I think now, man, too many podcasts are edited. They're cutting coughs out. They're cutting sniffs out. Like, I've sniffed more than a 18-year-old on a Friday night in King's Cross. Like, I just can't help it, But I think that's all that makes the podcast real. Some of that rogue stuff that we may just want to talk about, we'll stick it over on there. So, like Mick mentioned, I really just want to put a big shout out to you legends that are coming back. 2 episodes in, and there's some pretty good numbers there for us, which is fantastic. And Mick, it just means that we can do this for a bit longer, mate.
Yeah, that's it. So just remember, we want to get you all involved in our little channel here or podcast. And what we want to do, we want to hear from your fishing triumphs to your fuck-ups. We just want you to send a topic through around 2 minutes to our website, twopelicans@gmail.com.
Two Pelicans Podcast.
Two Pelicans Podcast. And that's the number 2. Number 2. It's a little bit tricky, but you'll get your head around it, guys. And if you don't know where it is, just head over to our socials. It's on there. You'll be able to find that. And that's just how they can support us moving forward. Yeah. No, it sounds great, mate.
Mate, let's just dive into this week's episode. What have you been up to, mate?
Mate, well, have I got some news for you? I've actually just come back from a cruise, and look, it was for a mate's 40th, and we just got absolutely hammered over the 4 days.
You had a bit on?
We had a fair bit on. I think possibly the highlight was a mate. We went and done a cocktail course.
Yep, unreal.
And we made a smoked Thor's Hammer. So I don't really know what was in that, but we tasted it. It tasted all right at the time. But what they did, they sort of just laced a bit of smoke on top of the cocktail, so that was fine. Anyhow, we went back there at about 5 o'clock in the day after I've had 1,000 more cans, and my mates ordered it again, and this time they've actually jammed the smoker into the actual drink for like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and
wow.
Look, I had a sip of it, and you know how you've always might be picked up the wrong can at a party or a pub, and it's always had a few butts in it. That's exactly what it tasted like, and my mate ended up drinking it. It was $25, might I add, so he wasn't going to
leave it on the table.
Yeah, he wasn't going to leave it on the table. So anyhow, let's just say it didn't feel real good after it.
If it was one of your mates, he would have still drunk it. It was $3.
Yes.
The money value had nothing to do with it. No, that's awesome, mate. Yeah, it sounds like you had a really good trip, and a little bit of a recharge, just to chill out for a minute. We all need to take a break and laugh every now and then.
Yeah. And look, just the other thing too, shout out in the ABT Queensland Open, well done to Jamie McEwen, come first there, and a big shout out also to little H, Harry Schofield. He's a good little kid. I fished with him. He was a non-boater with me a few years ago, and he was a great kid then. Nothing's changed. I caught up with him briefly at the Clarence ABT Bass, where I think he won as a non-boater. Yep. So big shout out, H. Keep consistent, mate, Unreal. And keep munching goals.
What have I been up to? I'm probably a bit wounded here if I've just been to Newcastle.
What have you been doing in Newcastle, Joey?
Yeah, I just dropped off a huge order of Jew lures, so I've been absolutely flat out. I haven't fished since we've spoken last. Actually, no, I'll tell a lie. We quickly trout fished. I had a little weekend end of close season, got a few trout, but I've just gotten back from Newcastle. Literally, I'm on the way home right now. I've called in here because we don't let the viewers down. We keep the podcast going.
That's right. That's right. We make it happen.
I had to drive past, so I went down there yesterday. Went for a fish last night with the boys. That was good, and didn't catch it. I think I had one Jew bite. That was about it. Went out, had some absolutely cracking Indian last night at Punjab.
Punjaba.
Mate. When an Indian restaurant's called Punjab's Palace, you can't resist. So had a few drinks to celebrate that order. That was great, and. Before we jump into the news, mate.
Actually, I just wanted to just ask you about that. Now, them lures that went down there, you put a reel out earlier this week. Was that all the lures that went down there?
Yeah. One order, so there was...
Can I ask how many you sent down? Because they look like there was a shitload.
There's basically 800 lures.
Wow.
One store took 100. So it's hot tackle, Central Coast, Lake Macquarie area. The one store took 100 and the other store took the rest.
Wow.
That's a lot of lures, man.
Yeah.
And look, I must say, like, a big shout out to those guys, that's supporting me and... it's going to keep me going, and it helps keep all this stuff going as well. It'll
but supporting a good product.
And the thing is, like, this stuff takes time. I worked out there was about 16 weeks work.
Wow.
In that, and if you average out, say, a 40, or some weeks it might be 50, 60 hours on the lures, so. There's a lot of work goes into it, but I know that Jew anglers, I know those lures are going to come off those cards and swim and catch fish because they all get swim tested. They might have bumps in them. The bibs might be a little bit crooked or whatever, but that's a handmade timber lure, and they all swim and they're going to catch fish, and they look great. So, big shout out to those guys. Now, before we move on, we need to address a couple of little things about that town down there, Newcastle. May I say to the viewers, if you want to do some critter watching, go to Newcastle on a Saturday.
So, what do you mean by critter watching? There's a few pelicans. There's a few pelicans.
No, shags.
Shags.
There's shags.
Wow, they've gone lower again.
Mate, the pelicans are the fun bunch. There's shags down there everywhere. So I basically went Central Coast and then looped back up the coast road, right?
Yeah.
Back up into Newey, and then I checked into my hotel, which it was a while in itself. We won't go into that one, but on the way to the hotel.
Funnily enough, that was an ibis.
It was an ibis, yeah.
Shags, ibis,
they're
pelicans.
All the scum of the ocean. So, mate, I'll quickly tell you this one before we move on. It's like a bit of a highway. It's dual lanes. I think it's 80 k's, but it's kind of built up. But it's like the major arterial sort of road along the coast there.
Yeah.
Pop up over this little crest of this hill, right? And here's this fella in the middle of the lane with a boombox on his shoulder, a dart in his hand, a tin under his arm, and
driving.
Standing in the middle of the road, just chilling, not crossing the road.
He's still in the 80s.
And I was like, fella, what are you doing? He's like on the crest of a hill, and I was just like, holy, like, you don't see that up here.
Nah.
But anyway, that finishes off that. But I tell you what though, anyone that lives down there, geez, they've got some options for fishing, mate. That lake, I don't know if you've ever been down to Lake Macquarie, but it takes like 3.5 days to drive around.
Yeah, so I did do an ABT there a few years ago, and I have to say, the fishing for me wasn't all that good. I got a few bream, but I think the thing that stood out for me was just how nice it was all around the lake's edges.
Yeah, beautiful.
The houses, the pontoons, the jetties. It'd probably be a really, really cool place to live. So,
it looks spectacular. I can imagine the housing prices would suit that too. But, mate, let's jump into Around the Grounds, the news of the week, mate. You can kick us off with the news.
Yeah, right. So I probably just said mainly my news, but do you want to go on to the main topic, or you got some further news?
I've got some news. That was sort of what I've been up to. Look, I just got a few little topics there I just want to quickly touch on. Obviously, last episode, we dove deeply into MLF.
Yes.
Now, since we've recorded that, MLF has signed Shimano.
Yes.
As a major series sponsor. So I thought that was a thing to bring up, although we might have pointed out a lot of bad points about the series, we're still back. We're still backing people like us having a crack. So I just wanted to mention that.
Then they've grabbed a few sponsors now. I think we mentioned so.
Yeah.
Look, it's imminent. It's happening, and it's not too far away now for when it kicks off. So
now I'm just going to dive in here. I just had a couple of little things. It also kind of links into that as well, off the back of the sponsors for MLF. Yeti, a new product from Yeti. We love just talking about new products and stuff here.
Yeah.
Now, look, we know Yeti's a premium price product. A Yeti stubby cooler, hands down, you won't get a better cooler. Like they're brilliant.
They're sort of the top of the line in the market.
Top of the line,
really.
you get what you pay for. Now, they've just brought out, I'm just going to check it here. I'm not going to throw this on the screen, but our audio listeners can hear. So they've got a new little case.
Oh, yeah?
It's called the Sidekick Dry Collection. It's a new product.
Does that look like, is that for one of them mad dudes that walk down the street?
Well, it kind of looks like your Friday night bag.
Yeah,
But no, look, what it is, it's a little waterproof bag, that they weighting bag. Now, the bag itself $60, and then you've got to buy the belt for another $15. So look, they're a premium product, but I thought,
They're waterproof.
They're waterproof.
Okay, well that's...
So I thought we'd highlight some new products here. Now, another one I just want to quickly dive into here, a little bit of a serious one. I think we'll just touch on it in this app. White spot. White spot is a little bit out of control just at the present. For those that don't know what white spot is, it's like an immune, essentially, disease. Well, I'll probably get correct there. People will be screaming at me. That's basically what it is. Crustaceans, prawns essentially catch it. I've just grabbed a piece here off the DPI website. I'm just going to quickly read this out, if you don't mind.
So currently, just further that, I believe that a lot of commercial fishing has stopped for the prawns in the Clarence River.
I'll dive into that here.
Righto.
So last month, this is straight off the website, by the way. I'm not shooting this out of me back end. Last month, the DPI, the Australian Centre of Disease Preparedness, has confirmed detections of white spot in wild caught school prawns near the Evans River. This is back on the 8th of May, and the Richmond River on the 25th of May, so not really that long ago. As a result, a biosecurity control order is in place for Evans and Richmond Rivers. A control zone encompasses the waters of the Richmond, Evans and adjacent ocean waters 10 kilometres north of the Richmond River mouth, 10 kilometres south of the Evans River mouth. The Clarence control zone also remains in place. The control zone restricts the movement of green, uncooked school and king prawns and other depod crustaceans, excluding mud crabs, blah, blah. So just to dive into that quickly for the people that aren't sure what that means, basically, it's going to kill the pro fisherman prawners. So they can't export those prawns uncooked actually out of the area.
They can only be sold locally, can't they?
Yes. So, look, I guess this is a big thing for you guys, you know, like we've talked about it before. We have mates that are pro fishermen. If you can do one thing, go and buy a kilo of local cooked prawns from the trawlers, from your local co-op. Don't go to Coles and Woolies. Now, I'm going to dive into this. This is the reason why we don't want you to go to Coles and Woolies. To help prevent the spread, this is back off the website, may I add.
DPI website.
To help prevent the spread of white spot, DPI is reminding fishers never use prawns intended for human consumption. So, like 15 years ago, we were using like green, uncooked banana prawns and stuff. The best brim and tari bait you'll get. Don't do it, guys. You cannot do it. This is what introduces this white spot stuff into our local prawns. There's guys' livelihoods on the line because of this shit going on. So, it is important just to remember the white spot does not pose threat to human health or food safety. The New South Wales seafood, including prawns, remains safe to eat. So, to finish off, mate, if you can do one thing the next couple of weeks, guys, go down, if you're around the Clarence, the Richmond or the Evans areas, go into your co-op or whatever. If you see the trawler pull in, go and buy a couple of kilos of prawns off him, help him out because...
and the lads have been doing it tough here on the Clarence in that respect. So,
I think the thing is, like, we will dive into this in a later episode, but it's like anything, 2 bad apples ruin the pile of apples, you know? Like, just because a few people in the professional fishing world do the wrong thing, it doesn't mean everyone else aren't doing the right thing.
Correct.
And a good mate of ours, he's out there making a living.
Totally. And they're quite heavily regulated compared to probably recreational fishing.
And look, we won't go into that now because I do want to get the big fella on because I think, you know, it's what would you say? It's a practice that's been done for hundreds of years. Like it's always been done. So definitely want to dive into that, mate. But I think that pretty well finishes off my news for this week, mate. Should we jump into the main topic?
Yeah, let's jump into the main topic. So look,
bit of a fun one.
It's a fun one. It's a bit of a one from yesteryear. We touched on it, I think, maybe on our first episode. But we're going to talk about the glory days of the Gamakatsu team series. Now, I think I probably started fishing them, I don't know, maybe 2010-ish.
Yeah. Similar era.
And yeah, so I fished with Steve-O, and then I fished with yourself. And I think, I don't know, we've probably done about 4 or 5 years of that competition. But in that time, I really enjoyed that competition. Didn't matter where we went. A couple of things. We always had fun.
Yeah.
I always felt the competitions were ran really, really well. I think that was probably one of the things that made it enjoyable to keep going back. And so I think we might unpack that a little bit today and talk about on some stuff that we did in the Ester year.
Yeah, man. So diving into like what you've just mentioned, I was much the same. Obviously, I fished with you after a couple of years, but in the episode when we did touch on it before, I actually forgot to mention the first guy I started with was Scotty Sutherland.
Oh yeah, yep.
And I wasn't even 18. I was 17.
Yep.
And I never forget this. Hey, I fished my first ever Gemma event with him. I'd been in hospital for about 2 months. I was pretty crook back then.
Yep.
And I hadn't seen sun. And in 2 months, and he literally practically picked me up from the hospital, put me in the boat for the weekend, and we went and fished a Gemma. And that's how it all sort of started for me.
Whereabouts was your first comp at?
Dad and I did fish one on the Richmond. That was actually my first one. I did fish with my old man at the Richmond, and then the Clarence with Scotty.
First,
it all started with Dad, and then Scotty and Rookie, and then yourself. But I'm just going to quickly dive into that first ever Gemma. I'm pretty sure it was the first one I fished. I don't know if you remember. It was at Ballina. Mm-hmm. Now, like I've said before, hats off to Starkey, Michael Starkey. Like for the time, the era, he was way ahead of the rest of the game. Taking nothing away from all the other tournaments to cover my backside. He had the TVs up, the scores rolling. He had the resources at his fingertips. So I don't know who was involved with this, but me and the old man fished out of the old 385, the 25 Demi. We never had a foot control electric. We had a tiller steer, little funnel up the front. So we go to the briefing and they're like, you know what, guys, we're going to try something different. So I don't know whether you know in town, near the Ramada sort of area, there's like a park.
Yep.
And they're like, we're going to do the weigh-in from there. And we're all like, well, where do you park? And they're like, so what we're going to do is, out in the middle of the river, over near the sandbar, we're going to drop a big piece of concrete on one end and a big piece up the other end. And we're going to have like a rope between them with marker buoys. And you'll tie up in the middle of the river. And then the Gamakatsu boat will come pick you up from your boat.
Nah.
And no, you don't know this, obviously.
No, I think I come along maybe a couple of years after.
Well, I think this is actually 2007.
There you go.
Because I'm pretty sure, because I would have been like 16 or 15 maybe.
Yeah, right.
So this is early. This could have been maybe their first year when they're testing the waters. Anyway, back to it. So, great. In theory, it's a great idea. I don't know if you know the Richmond River very well, but some of our listeners would. Yeah. When you get a 35 knot southerly kicking at lunchtime and a run-in tide, you get like 2 metres of swell put. Mate, you should have seen it. It was an absolute schmozzle. It was hilarious. The boats are out there flying around and they're ferrying everyone across. But then one of our episodes here to come, Wishy is going to get involved. Wishy is a guy that we fished against.
Yes.
I know you keep in touch with Wishy, but he's just a dude that we met through that, a really cool fella.
And I think that's the beauty about it. I sort of found a wonderful balance between having good friendships and camaraderie, but not too serious.
Yeah, you don't need to piss in each other's pocket. But at the same time, every time you saw each other, you'd sit down and have a beer and reminisce. And
that's right. Right. So, and then later on down the track, we caught up from Tony from Sporties. I think they came down, stayed. Alex Roy,
the mayor of the Gold Coast.
The mayor of the Gold Coast, Matty.
And I think Weiss did. Oh no, we went out. We'll touch on that at the end. With the Gold Coast shenanigans.
I think because that money was around that 150 and how it was sort of divvied up, I think it sort of took away that seriousness a bit. Yeah, that's just my opinion. Anyway. I think when you look at the higher prize money, and then it sort of only pays out to whatever, 6, 7, 8 in some things. I know local comps might only be 5 or 6. But they always, from memory, I think they always went, no matter what, they went to top 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was top 10 and maybe prize packs down a bit further. It's that long ago.
Yeah.
There's sort of not a lot of data available that we can pull up just to look back at that stuff. But I definitely remember most tournaments we'd come home with a pack of something.
Yeah, that's right. And
I think we won some spotter sunnies at maybe Port Macquarie or something like that. You know, like I think for $150, man, you pay $150, you enter, you're there for a good time. Like the expectation of the return isn't a lot for $75 each.
No.
Like you're not paying $400 entry and you're like, man, I really want to get some return. It's like, if we won 3 or 4 lures, we'd chuck them in our box and you'd be happy days. You know?
That's right. That's right.
It doesn't matter, you know. So
it
was definitely, it was well run. It created lots of banter between your mates. You met new people. The entry was good. Like there really wasn't any negatives about it.
No. I always thoroughly enjoyed it, and every time or anywhere that we went, even if we didn't go well in the comps, I still had a great time.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say too. Like there was a lot of them. I think maybe like one a month. Roughly, I think maybe December might have been out, but there was like one a month. So.
I think they kicked it off in January from memory.
Yeah.
And then obviously, as it got bigger, it sort of branched out a little bit. I think it started heading down further north. Obviously south, north,
up south,
east,
down
west.
north. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it grew, and you know, like it was something that. Like I'll keep saying, was that you definitely look forward to going to, and I don't know, and once again, not taking anything away from a single fishing platform, but I guess there's always something about fishing with your mate, isn't it?
Yeah, and we touched on that with MLF a little bit too. You know, like is that a reason why it'll work? Because there's that hole in the market. Because like I know, like the first time that you and I'd fished together in a long time, I drove down to fish that local club comp, and it was just. I didn't even fuck about the fish, and we actually did pretty good. Like we got some cracking fish, and you know it was just more a catch up and have a yarn, and like catching fish is a bonus. You know, like if you're out there, and that's like the whole point again of this whole podcast is. It's about having fun. If you're not having fun, find a different hobby, different sport, because if you're not having fun, that's the whole purpose of it. Taking your kids fishing, having fun when they catch and you don't, that's important, you know. Like if you're not one of those people, well, probably take up bowls or something.
That's right. Take up lawn bowls, take up, I don't know, croquet.
Take up drinking beers.
Take up drinking beers. Life in at Norm.
So you got their team of the year, mate.
So look, the other part of that was that they sort of ran a team of the year thing, which I thought was another great concept as well. I think there were some prizes, and I can't really remember if you come first, but once again, the website was sort of up there at the time. I think it's been taken down now, unfortunately, but it was, once again, just something that you sort of could track how you went on. There was reports at the end on how people, their reports on maybe the top couple of anglers that won and how they caught their fish.
And I think the whole point of that is we're not saying that doesn't happen now.
No.
At that time in the era, like they were just so far ahead. And that probably leads us perfectly into our next point here. The setup and how it was run. So for those that aren't familiar, basically Michael Starkey had a trailer probably, I don't know, how long would that be?
Oh, it would have been
35 foot long probably. It was longer than a boat. It was
we'll say 20 odd foot.
20 odd foot we'll say. And it was like
we'll get that wrong, but we're going to say 20.
Scream ass. And it was like a Pantech style with a roof on it. Basically, there was just TV screens either side, big plasma screens, and that was just rolling. On the stage where he had his scale set in like FLW style. I think they were even those spec scales from memory.
Yep.
And you'd have a little computer screen down at the side, right? So you'd line up, and you'd hit your tag number. So instantly on his screen, it's popped up who's on the stage, because at that time the series is new. There's 70 boats. He doesn't know who everyone's names are.
That's right.
So professional. You'd walk up on stage and you'd already log your fish. So you'd log 5 fish. Mick, Joey, whatever, and you'd come up on stage and you'd say, here's Casino Outdoors, Mick and Joey with their 5 fish. Like, how professional is that?
It was really good, and like sitting back in the crowd, the TVs were big enough where you could actually see the results running through. So,
and the minute you weighed in, it just updated.
I don't think they ever had really, might have been once where they might have had one little drama that I can remember or recall. But they fixed it up pretty quick, and I think credit to the people that ran it, like Michael and that they're pretty quick to correct it and call it out. And
we haven't got this as a point too, but they really set a precedent too, like say with rules. Like there was, we won't dive into what exactly happened, but there was a few things over the time, and good on them. They took a stance.
Yes.
And they went, no, that's not okay, disqualify, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And, like, there's nothing better than that, being transparent with everyone. So, yeah, that was a big thing too, knowing that you're fishing an event and everyone knows how full on they were with everything, so they're not going to try and push that.
That's right. And I think after them couple of things sort of come out, from memory for myself, I don't really remember or recall any other dramas after that.
No, I don't think so either. And look, they were minor. Like I said, I'm not going to dive into what they were there. But I guess the next thing is, like, why did it stop? Like, I've got my own, obviously, opinions on that, but where did it go wrong, essentially? Like, why aren't they there anymore, mate?
Look, I have a theory with this, and look, once again, there's two parts of this. Obviously, it's part of a business, right? And maybe the business direction need to change, whatever the case may be. But I think for a lot of people, it tried to become something to maybe satisfy everyone.
Yeah.
So there was like a amateur series, then there was the bass thing, and then there was like
too many moving
the pro
parts.
series. Yeah, there was a lot of moving parts.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Now, look, in all fairness, maybe they've seen decline in numbers and thought, okay, well, maybe we need to change this up a bit to make it work.
Yeah.
But look, from my point of view, I agree with you. I didn't think it was broken. I don't think it needed to be fixed. Just keep getting people in there to support it, I think, was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, my view is absolutely totally the opposite to all that.
Okay.
It's practically because... so you would have just missed that. You want to head over to Patreon to check that one out. But look, I don't mean to be rude when I say that, but I think there's a certain group of people, and this doesn't matter what sport you're in.
Yeah.
They expect more, Obviously, the series went on for X amount of years.
Yep.
And obviously, the Elite Series, Carl's over there. That's becoming more imminent. Would have Carl been there then? Probably not, actually. Maybe not quite. But anyway, besides the point, the Elite Series, everyone's wanting to strive for that.
Yes.
They're looking at it, and at the end of the day, what happens there in America will never happen in this country.
No, of course
we don't
not.
have we just don't have the population to sustain that.
Yep.
And I think people just got greedy. They're like, we want more, we want this, we want that.
Yeah.
And people just get their noses out of joint. They don't turn up to support them, And I think if people just were happy with going away for a fun time, like maybe if Gammers went, hey, look, had a decline in numbers, instead of canning it, we're just going to drop back to 4 rounds a year.
Yeah, 100%.
If they just did something, and I'm not saying that didn't get spoken about, but if something like that had happened, maybe it'd be still rolling on today. I don't know, but like I said, I'm not rude when I say that about the anglers, which a little bit was on Patreon, but that's normally why any organisation folds, is because the anglers don't support them because they're too greedy,
gone. Yeah.
and they just want more and more. So I think that might be enough on that one.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Could it be resurrected? 100%.
Yeah.
You know what I would like to see? I want to see a team's bass.
Team's bass, for sure.
Like, no one's doing it. And I want to fish bass. Like, I don't want to fish brim. So I want to fish bass. So shout at anyone.
I'm going to stop you there. And look, you and I briefly spoke about this through the week. If it's bass, is it a measure or is it live weight? I know it depends where it is.
Yeah,
too.
it depends where it is. Look, to be honest, at the end of the day, I'm sweet with measuring.
Okay.
But, there's a big but. I'm not going to tell Morgan how to run his tournaments. But if it was me, I would have it as a measure tournament, but don't convert it to the weight. I know that all the weights are the same, but just... And I know why Morgan does it, and there's a lot of reasons why he does it. A, because then... you've still got weights, all the records remain the same, like he's not changed anything, it's like you've still got 2.8 kilos instead of saying he's got 3 metres. People don't know what that means.
Yeah.
So if I was to start off, not that I am, because I've got my finger in too many pies, but if I was to start up a team series for bass, it would be a length and it's just your longest. So everyone would have the same ruler. It'd be supplied at the beginning of every tournament. They'd probably be, I'd even recalibrate them. Recalibrate them before every tournament, measure them off have your set old steel rule.
Yep,
and you measure every single one. That's shrunk in the sun, throw it to the shitter.
Yep.
I think if that really eliminates cheating, obviously they can well fish, blah, 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 and keep taking photos of them. But with the technology and the apps that are out there now, all that can detect that data. So, I think if it was to work, I just think I'd love to see a team's bass event, 2 days.
Yep.
Saturday arvo, Sunday morning, the good old days, like the electric. Some of them were.
Yep.
And just have it your biggest 10 for the weekend.
Yeah,
5 in the arvo, 5 in the morning.
Now I'm gonna throw a bit of a thing in there, and I know that that's probably good for bass, but there is something about bringing fish to the well, to the bump tub, and taking them up and delivering that on stage. There's some sort of extra sense of accomplishment.
So 100%. My argument to that is 100%. I agree with that with the brim. Bringing a brim to the scales. Now, what's the difference between brim and bass? It's because normally where brim events run, there's a huge population of people.
Yeah, that's
so you
right.
might get 100 people in the crowd, you know, and look at my brim, woo, how good's this?
Yep.
Most of the time, we're at bass events, middle of bumfuck.
Yeah,
and
in the
you
middle
get
of nowhere.
old Bob with a fucking half-smoked joint hanging out of his... I remember, man...
Cletus?
Oh, Cletus. One bass event, it was a Bass Nation event.
That's all bass anglers though. They're a bit all Cletus-like, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're
not
real
all of us.
civilised.
Don't put us all under the same blanket, mate. I remember an event there, man. It was at Corokai. Now, I'm not calling Corokai out. It's a lovely town. I love Corokai. But there's some characters there. There's some critters getting
There's some
around.
roosters.
And there was a Bass Nation event run, man. And this fella comes down and he's got like this bent stick and he's got a VB can and he's like up on the stage. Drew was running the event. And if anyone was there, you'd remember. It was hilarious. And he's like telling everyone how he catches his fish. And mate, just an absolute carry on. But like, you just don't sort of get big crowds with bass. Like, you're in the middle of the dam in the middle of winter. Who's going to come and watch it? So, like we said, guys, we don't condone any of that behaviour. It was a long time ago, a different life. But, right, we're going to bring that back to Spotify now. So,
Righto, we're back. We're back in the other room.
it's a bit of a wild yarn, that one.
Yeah.
Like we said, we don't. If you want to go check it out, have a listen. And look, we would definitely not be the only ones that did that. Because let me tell you, I saw some things at that Gamma Pop that I wouldn't have even done.
Yes.
There was some like I saw alcohol getting consumed like half an hour before the start. Like we weren't that bad, you know. Like there was a bit on, but right into my yarn. I don't really know. I think the one that jumps to mind the most is I spoke to you about this one through the week. Was the time we headed to Foster.
Yeah.
Left your house, shot down, had a fucking terrible pre-fish. Just got busted off in the racks. Didn't really know. We didn't know what the fuck. Anyway, we're like driving back to the cabin, our North $75 cabin. All the other boys were camping and whatever, fuck that. You're driving back, you're like, man, this boat trailer feels funny, eh? It's like making a bit of, whatever.
I think it was Lannis was the tourist park. Lannis Holiday Park.
It was out near the tackle store on the other side.
Yeah, great spot. Anyway, sorry, mate.
And we're like a bit to death. We cracked the can, you know, got back, cracked the can, you've backed the boat in. And we're like, man, this is shit. Like, what are we going to do tomorrow? And like, Mick's like, well, we'll just fucking get on the piss, you know.
Yep.
And we'd planned on having, it was a pretty early night that. It was just big in the oven. It was an early night, we were sweet the next day, it was all good. And I think that's some of the times you knew you had to cut yourself off to get that good sleep.
Oh, look, usually we do it on the Friday night.
Correct.
Get it out of our system so we're ready for Sunday.
And if it was a Saturday night, you'd probably stop at 10, 11 o'clock. You were sweet, you'd wake up, no drama. So Nick backs the boat in and no fucking swear of a lie, the boat wheel just went thump and just shot off.
Yep.
Like Saturday afternoon in Foster. So next minute, it took us 2 hours of new hubs, bloody whatever the hell we did. And then we just went and got smoked at the pub.
Yeah.
And
so what I did, I do remember this. Yeah. So we got back. We sort of put it back on just and just linked it home. It was basically the brake pads just holding the fucking thing.
Yeah, literally.
And so we got back and trying to find some bearings at that time of day. Luckily, I think that maybe it was Barclay Marine was open, and we were able to. It was
just open,
Yeah. So I was able to go in there, or rang them up. They were closed. They helped us out. Either way, good on them.
Good legends, Shout out to those fellas.
Yeah. So anyhow, we got there. We got some new bearings. I looked at the hub. It was just fucking shredded. I'm just like, fuck. Anyhow. We got it fixed. We fished the next day and we limped it home. So all wells it ends well. But there was a few P's and Q's coming out while we were working on that with limited tools that I would have brought with me. So.
And then we went and had a great feed at the pub and met up with all the boys from the Goldie and had a really fun night, and woke up the next morning and went, I think we probably still finished in the top 20 or something. Garbage bag. But mate, there's so many yarns, but I think we've been going for probably long enough here. And we might just drop a few in along here as we get to them. But we got to our yarns, guys. You want to play? Oh, you plug into there, big fella, and.
Oh, right. Hang on. Let's get the plug it.
I don't know if that'll pick it up.
Yeah, right. We'll have a crack this way.
Guys, like again, we keep reiterating. We really want you to get you involved in the show, so it's just email pelicanspodcast@gmail.com, and it can be anything. Your fuck ups, your pisshead stories, whatever. We want to hear about them. So
yeah,
we got one labelled here, and I haven't actually listened to this one because I just figured we'd wing it, and if it's terrible, we'll cut it out.
We wouldn't cut anyone's yarn out though, Jason.
No, we don't do that here. It'll be on Patreon. But it's labelled "You Are Both Dickheads."
Wow, that's nice.
That's pretty abusive here. So let's just have a quick listen here. This is our very live technology, and we're on.
Hey legends, it's the Yamby Abbey here. Loving the potty, mate. They're kicking on pretty well. I just in episode 1, mate, I just wanted to find out a bit more about, you mentioned that you know each other inside and out from your tours. I don't know what you blokes have been up to, but I'd love to hear some more. Cheers, champions.
Mick, would you like to reiterate on that? This might be a shout out to Patreon.
Well, look, I don't think we didn't get too many Brokeback Mountain moments, I didn't think. But,
I don't think we got two broke. I'm sure we slept in the same bed a couple of times. I'm sure that happened.
Look, sometimes, you're only go if you push back. So,
and look, at the end of the day, mate, $20 is $20 is $20. So,
$20, yeah. It's a lot of money back then.
Look, we knew the ins and outs of each other, but not probably internally. But thanks, Yamby Yabby. Great to hear from you, Yamby Yabby.
What a clown, Yamby Yabby.
Yeah,
what a name.
We did ask for nicknames, so I'm sure we'll be hearing a bit more from the Yamby Yabby. Let's dive into another one here. We're just going to do 2 today, just one more here. Let's dive in.
How you going, you 2 Pelicans?
Good, mate.
Just getting back to you in regards to the discussion about LMF and what everyone thinks about people that are turning up in their team with no intent to go to America for that trip to bass fish over there. You know, people going and spending all this money to try and win that trip of a lifetime, and you've got guys just turning up just to win the cash with no intent. Be interesting to see what everyone thinks about that one.
Yeah,
that's a really. We can take those off now.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point, and
we ran a poll about this, didn't we?
We did, and it's actually a good mate of mine. I actually just touched base with him on that one, just to just clear things up a little bit, and sort of basically his viewpoints were, what he meant in that was, look, you're going to have local guys rocking up just wanting the money.
Yeah.
Like, how can you compete against that, and how can you put them in the same sort of category as someone that's wanting to change their life and maybe starting something off? So,
once in a lifetime chance or experience.
Yeah,
so
it is. And look, for some people, like, 10 grand trip's not a once in a lifetime. I could do that once a year.
Yeah,
but for a lot of people, 10 grand's a lot, and it is for me. It's huge. It's a lot of money, man. It is a once in a lifetime trip. And to do it under those circumstances and compete against that. Look, I agree. It is hard how you can have 2 against each other.
Yeah.
Like you just mentioned, we did run the poll on our Facebook. Now, there was actually one vote. So there was one vote for going to the States.
Yep.
I accidentally deleted it. Sorry to the legend that put that there. I deleted the whole thing. I don't know how I did that.
Joe doesn't know how to use polls, so...
apparently the X means exit and close. I had no idea what it's hard when you've got 50,000 different pages to run off your one page. But there was like 6 or 7. You fill in them. I'm just actually going to quickly just jump
I think there was
on.
about 6 or 7 that were happy to take the money. And look, I don't know whether I was surprised by that or not.
I was.
You were?
Yeah. But okay, let's just bring it back to reality though. Was I surprised? Yes. But when you think about it, was I surprised? No. Because look at the cost of living.
Yes.
All these legends like, man, $8 grand.
Yeah.
Look, how good's that? That's electricity for like 2 quarters or 3 quarters or whatever it is,
Yeah. And a lot of these people have families, so, it could be $8,000 holiday for the family.
Yeah, exactly right. So look, it is. There's not much service here at our studio today, but look, I think it was like you said, 6 or 7 bikes. There could even be a few more now that chose just to take the cash.
Yeah.
I was a little bit disappointed. Some fella put up there another option. Don't know who, but he put up there. Fuck the Bills, let's just take the money down the casino. And no one jumped on that. A little bit disappointed in you fellow Pelicans out there.
I wonder who that was.
Yeah, I don't know. Good fella. But mate, let's wrap things up. We've been gibbering for long enough, guys. You want to get involved with the show, email to pelicanspodcast@gmail.com and our socials, mate.
Yeah, our socials. So you'll find us on Instagram and you'll also find us on a Facebook. And let's not forget Patreon.
Patreon, Spotify, Two Pelicans Podcast. We've had a few little absolute clowns go, "Oh, we don't like Spotify, we want it on Apple Podcasts." We're going to work on it. It's not hard.
Hang on, can I just say this? Fuck Apple.
Yeah, Apple. Well, actually, when old mate was blowing up about it, I saw a bit of crashing happen with the Apple podcast system, so I was a little bit dubious. But look, we are going to dive onto a few other platforms. Look, guys, the most important thing, please just hit the download button. It costs you nothing.
Yes.
It costs you $3 a month.
Yep.
If you can't afford it, we do not hold that against you.
Yep.
But today, there's a pretty good yarn on there, so you might want to just, you don't have to keep doing it. If you just want to pay the $3 for 1 month, listen to a few, and then unsubscribe, that's entirely up to you.
Your call.
$3 to listen to a funny yarn. But yeah, mate, I think that wraps us up.
That's us.
That's episode 3. Thanks for listening to the Two Pelicans Podcast. I'm Joey.
I'm Mick.
We'll catch you next week.
Choo.